Hello, everyone. How's
Hey, how you
everyone's
folks
night
doing?
doing? Um, Me and Ken, well, there's gonna be more of us. I don't know if they're gonna join, but we're doing a series called Literary of the Force. If you are, aware of what everybody's been up to, Marcel's been hosting a series called Super Literary Encounters,
Of which I'm a part of.
and yeah, Ken's a part of. I'm not a part of it because I suck and I haven't read Supernatural Encounters. But they have, and they were doing a book club on it. And I think the final episode is what? This Thursday, I
Yeah.
think.
hmm
It's coming up soon. Um, and that series was real popular. While they were reading that, I was reading Legacy of the Force, which everybody I think that was in Super Literary Encounters have read that.
I
So
don't
I
think Al
invited,
read it, but rest
maybe
of us.
has Al read it?
Al's still in jail, so
Oh,
I
okay.
don't think he's read
Everybody
Legacy of
except
the Force.
Al has read it. I'm reading it. Um, I'm on Tempest right now, but we're gonna talk about the first book. So,
hmm
and the reason why I wanted to do this series was I needed more motivation to read the damn books. It's not that the books are bad, but
hmm
I'm just in a reading slump. We all go through them.
Yeah, I'm in mine right now, but
Um, so yeah. So we're gonna start off with Betrayal. We're just gonna give our general thoughts. Now, this isn't the same as Super Lit because in Super Lit everybody was reading it at the same time. I'm reading it for the first time while Ken and everybody else I invited, they've already read it before.
hmm
So now there's a chance Max said she can't join, but there's a chance that others will join, I hope.
hopefully Alex and
Um,
Marcel can join us at some
I
point.
hope so. And I hope Brennan can join us too. But
Hopefully.
essentially, we're gonna talk about, our favorite characters from the book, our least favorite plot lines, um, the pros. We're just gonna talk about the book and give our general thoughts. So Legacy of the Force, we all know it's the big series after the NJO. It takes place after the Dark Nest trilogy, also takes place after Supernatural Encounters, ironically enough.
Mm.
Um, it's NJO, Darkness, Supernatural Encounters, and then Legacy of the Force.
Yep.
The first book, Betrayal, was written by Aaron Alston. We all know who he is. Long live Aaron Alston.
Man needs no introduction. He's the goat, or one of the goats.
Yeah, this book wasn't the GOAT though, but he is a goated author.
That is true.
So,
I disagree
um,
with you there, but he is a goated Arthur. So.
give me 1 second, Ken.
hmm
Sorry about that.
Nah, you're good.
Um, Aaron Alston's great. I love Aaron Alston. But I didn't really care for Betrayal. Um,
hmm
we'll go into why we say that, but I gave the book about a 6 out of 10. It wasn't a bad book,
It's not a bad rating,
but
honestly.
it was just boring. I didn't really care what was happening. Um, so what about you, Ken?
I really like the book. I think that it gets I wouldn't say it gets a bad rap, but it's definitely the weakest out of the whole series. But it's not bad per se. The stuff with Jason's his quote unquote apprentice Din, that whole stuff was tragic. And for
Is it
me,
Nilani Den?
yeah,
Is
Lalani
that who
Din,
you're talking
yeah.
about? Oh,
hmm But the stuff for me with Alston's books are the Corellian politics. That's why I love Betrayal so much, is because it sets up the Corellians for the rest of the series, and Thraken Sal Solo as well, even though he doesn't really make it that far into the series, but his successors are also pretty interesting.
well, Thrakensaw Solo. I loved him in the Krellin trilogy. I love the Krellin trilogy.
hmm
I love. In fact, I wish Roger McBride Allen had been a part of this series, or they're going to bring Corellia into it.
I
But
wish he had been too. Like that man,
um,
he's a great writer.
yeah, he was real good. And I enjoyed Thraken in the NJO. I didn't mind him in this book, but the first thing that I thought of was really super or Centerpoint Station again. That's
Hmm.
the first thing I thought of. I was getting sick and tired of it showing up everywhere. And with Anakin, of course. Oh, by the way, this series obviously gonna be full of spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers, don't watch this. But
Yep.
um, anyway, I don't know. I just felt like it just felt repetitive, and I don't like the Dark Knight trilogy. I've made that clear. I think that trilogy is so boring. I did not find it interesting. I was not captivated by the plot, and I think part of that is because the villains sucked, in my opinion. So
The
I didn't care
killings
what
are
was going to
cool.
happen.
Chiss are cool.
Um,
Killings are cool, but I
because the
I do get what you mean. That the trilogy can be like I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. The trilogy was overall I enjoyed Darkness. Not to derail things too much, but parts of the book, parts of those books did like slow down for me. Like Denning wrote chapters that were just way too long that didn't need to be like 40 pages.
right.
But overall, it was a good trilogy.
I was just bored through it.
Fair.
I don't. If you were to ask me what happened, and like, I don't. I only remember the overarching plot. I don't really remember any specific details. That's how much I didn't care about it.
Hmm.
I forgot. I know Raynar and Luke fought in Swarm War. I don't remember that happening. If I try to visualize it, I don't remember it. That's
I
how much
remember
I
that
didn't care about it.
vividly.
I know he uses foresight. I know he uses all that,
Mhm.
but I don't remember how it went down. Betrayal. I enjoyed it more than Dark Nest, for sure. It was definitely a step up. Um, but I don't know. It's just it felt like there was something missing from it, and it's such a stark contrast to Bloodlines, which of
Mhm.
course we'll talk about that hopefully next week. That's when I want to do the next stream. But Bloodlines felt like a Star Wars book. It felt like it had the emotion Star Wars had. Betrayal just felt I don't know, man.
They
It
feel
just did
tired.
not feel it. Yeah, it just and I didn't care about the Krellians, and I know the Krellians are not the ultimate bad guy.
No, they're not.
And
But
and as the book goes on, slowly we figure out really what's going on here. But uh, now the Nalani stuff, which I've heard is I guess unpopular, I
really,
actually enjoyed
really,
that stuff in the
I
book.
love that. I love that part of the book. Jason and her,
Now
she's great.
I don't know why, because obviously Nalani, we've never heard of this character before.
I think that's an issue inherent of itself is that you're introducing characters that have never once been like referenced before, and you expect me to care about them in such a short frame of time. And that's the problem with her character is you aren't invested in her.
Because we're told that Nolani's not Jason's Padawan per se, but he or she is
She did pass the
she
trials.
learned lightsaber combat from Jason.
Yeah. Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but now the big ending is they end up, of course, encountering Lamaya,
Hmm.
and she tells this big old story about Darth Vectivus, who is some ancient Sith Lord who was actually a good guy. He didn't use his power for evil. He was like Count Dooku in that sense. He was a Sith, but he wasn't like pure evil. Um, Count Dooku was a politician more than anything, more than a Sith
Hmm.
Lord. Darth Vectivus was more of a businessman rather than a Sith Lord.
Like a certain
It-
moon.
it- right. Uh,
Darth Plagueis.
but anyway, so Lamaya tells this story to Jason, and then Jason he ends up killing Nalani.
Hmm.
That's how the book ends, and I thought that was great, a great ending. Um, what I don't remember though, and I still keep trying to like, what is Jason's motivation to return to the dark side? Because at least a betrayal. Because guess who's not mentioned in that book at all?
Who?
Tenelka and Alana. They're not mentioned once in the book, which I thought was kind of stupid. Now, Bloodlines would kind of, I guess, retcon it and say, well, Jason wasn't thinking about them because he didn't want Lamaya to find out about them, something like
Mhm.
that. I don't know. I don't remember his motivation for return to the dark side. I don't remember. Do
I
you,
meant
you remember Ken?
I do, but I don't remember liking that either. I think the Tenel Ka is like his true love, and her not being mentioned in the book just didn't vibe with me.
Because it
And
just
like,
felt like I don't mind Jason turns to the dark side at all.
I don't either. Like, I think it makes sense, but the problem is his motivation changes from book to book, and then in the
Yeah.
next series, it just gets completely like retconned. I want to say his motivation for becoming a dark sider changes. It varies.
So
First, it's
yeah,
at all costs.
I
Second,
don't
it's
remember
vision.
Betrayal ever telling us why he. Okay, Lamaya obviously told Jason about Vergear. We'll talk about that later, but
There's the whole theory that she's lying about Vergier. I don't know what you think about like that theory. That she's not
um,
telling the truth, trying to get Jason on her side
I'm
by
sure she's
lying.
lying. Sith are, they're not very
Hmm.
reliable, but um, because I mean, even if she was a Sith, that still wouldn't make sense. If she was either a Jedi, okay, if she was a Jedi and she professed what she taught Jason, she wouldn't be a good Jedi either.
Hmm. No.
So this idea that she's only a Jedi is stupid. She's not. Um, but I don't think she was in cahoots with Lamaya because she got redeemed in the end, and that's why.
Hmm.
Um, so,
I don't think she knew who
but
Lamaya was, to be honest.
and
But
it wouldn't even make sense either because the whole idea that Vergeer finished Lamaya's training is stupid because who's had more training as a Sith? Lamaya did than
obviously
Vergeer.
Lamaya.
If
She
Vergeer
was in
even
the same.
had Sith training.
She was trained in the youth camp with Mara. They were of the same breed.
Right. And Lamaya was taught by both Sidious and Vader.
Hmm.
So this idea that Vergeer finished Lamaya's training, I think is stupid. What's up, Arthur? How you doing, brother?
Hey, Arthur Lowry, what's up?
Um, so yeah, I think that's stupid, but it's stupid, yeah, but I think that's exactly why she's lying. I don't really take that. In Jedi versus Sith, the Essential Guides of the Force makes it clear no one really knew Vergeer's intentions. But what they did know is that Vergeer had a profound impact upon Jason. That's obviously not debatable by anybody. Um, so I think it's possible they encountered each other once, but the whole story of
Hmm.
them, Vergeer finishing Lamaya's training as if she would be qualified to do that, I think is just
Yeah,
stupid. Um,
I get what you mean.
but that's the only motivation I can think of. Lamaya's like, "Hey, I worked for Vergeer, and this is what she would say, and blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Oh, but like, I don't know. The motivation thing, I still think is stupid. I don't really know his motivation, but
Yeah, his motivation is
um,
like, kind of iffy in the first few books, and like I said,
Bloodlines.
changes, but
See, Bloodlines is really not mentioning either. Tempest is finally trying to get to it,
hmm.
um, but Bloodlines is a different book though. It's not really more so about Jason. It's more so about Boba Fett.
Hmm.
Um,
Karen Travis and
when
Boba
he's on
Fett
the cover.
story.
It's probably the best Boba Fett story I've read. I
Is
thought it was
it
great.
is
What? So, what do you think about Lamaya being in this book? Like, what do you think about her being chosen to be Jason's master? What do you think about that, Ken?
I think it's an interesting choice. Definitely not who I would think would be Jason's master, but she works.
What does work?
I think Alston also wanted to pull a character from like the Marvel comics, so he did that.
All right.
Like,
And I think she is perfect because of her past with Vader, with Sidious and Luke and Mara.
mhm.
So I think it does make sense.
I think
It's
it
not
does.
that
I
it
think it
makes
works.
sense, but it works with Jason as a
It
character.
works because of her influence from her different masters, and like Jason would
Right.
be. I don't think he'd be aware of that, but it works thematically.
So I thought it was cool, and of course, it was a great way to connect the Marvel comics to the Del Rey books,
Hmm.
which anytime that happens, I think is great.
Absolutely. Even though I haven't read the Marvel comics personally, but I'll get to it eventually.
Well, see, the thing is, Lamaya's really not in that in the Marvel comics a whole
He's in like
bunch.
the
She's
end
in
of
like what 2 or 3 issues, four maybe.
it.
Um, but I remember just because for a while I had no idea Lamaya was in the Marvel comics. I knew she was. I knew she was in
Yeah.
Legacy of the Force. But I know she was in freaking Marvel comics, and then I came across a Marvel cover with Lamaya on the cover, and I'm like, wait. she was in the Marvel comics. She wasn't like a Legacy of the Force original. She's from the Marvel comics.
She
I had
certainly
no
was.
idea.
Yeah, I didn't know that either when I first read the books,
And
and
I
then I heard of that, and I was like, "Whoa,
yeah,
that's cool."
and I thought that was freaking awesome. Now, you don't need to read the Marvel comics to understand this because these books will tell you
Mhm,
Lamaya's history, but um basically she was sent as a spy to try and kill Luke. She fails. Well, was she
mhm.
trying to kill Luke? I don't remember exactly.
She
She falls in
tries to
love with
she
Luke,
falls in love
kind
with
of.
him and try slowly doesn't wanna kill him, and then Luke accidentally, like, shoots her down, and she gets burnt like Vader becomes,
Yeah.
the armor and whatnot.
She has a lot of
She has a Vader
cybernetics like
moment, to
Vader
put it
does.
mildly.
Yeah. So of course she has a light whip.
That's
That's where
cool.
light whips come from is her. Um
Very cool
What's
weapon, I
also
would say.
cool, I think I don't it wasn't in Betrayal. I think it was in was it Bloodlines or Tempest? I don't remember, but Luke basically turns to Mara and he says, "Let's whip out the Shotos." And I'm like, what a badass
That
scene.
has to be Austin humor. That has to be Austin. That's definitely
I don't think it was
something.
Alston. It was in I think it was in Tempest.
If
It sounds like
it sounds like
it was
Austin
funny
humor.
though.
I mean, yeah, it just sounds
It
like something
sounds like
Austin would
Alston
write.
humor, but this book starts with a sweet action scenes that you usually wouldn't get into the end. Weird, but I
Oh
like
yeah, the
yeah, the
stuff
action
at the
scenes
factory,
were cool.
the
Yeah,
Adamore
and
stuff
the
at the
fact
beginning was cool.
the what I also kind of was confused is how the Galactic Alliance went from in just a few books. It felt like they went from you know basically a superior version of the New Republic
To the Empire.
to a new empire
Yeah,
in a matter
stuff
of
kind of happens off page and whatnot. It's just glossed
yeah,
over.
and that's what confused me because as I'm reading as I was now I'm kind of understanding it, but when I first started reading this series, I'm like, wait, who the hell are the bad guys? Is it the Corellians or is it the Galactic Alliance?
I think it's the books trying to make the bad guy like they want to make both sides
Yeah,
like
they're
gray
both
area.
evil.
Yeah,
I mean, we'll learn that they're both evil, but I don't like I said, I don't mind the Galactic Alliance becoming quote unquote evil, but it's
mhm.
like we need to see that
You gotta see the
happen.
progression. You
'Cause
can't just expect me to be like, "Oh,
right.
now they're evil for some reason."
Yeah, and I get it's been what 10 years in between the books, chronological in between the NJO and Legacy of the Force, but it's like, man, like
I
we
mean,
didn't see that at
in
all.
in Darkness, the Alliance wasn't even on the level of what they are in Legacy of the Force. They weren't
That's
corrupt.
what I'm saying.
They were still
I
yeah,
don't
they were still
I
rebuilding
don't
and
ever remember
whatnot.
that.
And there's no inkling of them like becoming like that in Darkness at all.
So yeah,
Which is
yeah,
it's
that's a
weird.
criticism
It all happens off page basically.
I have for this book series is we're never shown progression of the GA becoming evil. Or maybe not this, but we should have at least seen it in Dark Nest. I mean, if
Yeah.
that's what Troy Denning wanted, okay, we need to see the progression of
But
that.
I also
W
think that Darkness was more or less Jason's. It was to show Jason's progression as a Force user and his change of
right?
beliefs. So it was more
That's
focused on
yeah,
that.
that's true,
The Alliance stuff
but
was a background, was background dressing.
yeah, but, it's such a big kinda plot point, you have to I don't did Supernatural Encounters address it?
I don't remember. I don't think so.
That's a shame.
I don't think we went that far into the timeline.
Well, the it ta chronology takes place in between there, so that's why I asked if it showed it.
Oh, you mean the interlude stuff? No, it's just them talking about like Arhole. There's no really like there's no mention. There's like a mention of the events, but there's no like, oh, this is why the Alliance became evil like thing.
Dang.
There's mention of
And
the
and and
event. There's no like,
and if Cal what I think would have easily fixed this is if Cal Omas, let's say in between books, his term ended and they voted somebody else in there that, sucks.
yeah,
There you go. You could have fixed it right there. Kinda
mm,
like how in Young Jedi Knights, what Leia is chief of state and New Republic's doing great, and then you get to NJO and Borsk Falia is now chief of state and the New Republic is not doing very well. Okay, but that makes sense.
yeah,
When you have Kyle Moss, this whole Galactic Alliance was his idea. He was
Mm-hmm.
the pro Jedi. He was like your Bail Organa type character, and then he goes from that to you know another Boris Phalia. It's like I don't
It's
know.
weird.
I just didn't like it at all.
There's no
So
precedent for him going off like that.
yeah, I didn't. But maybe
I
they could
enjoy the
have had
politics, but I
that.
think it was rushed.
And here's how you fix it though. You have that female Mon Calamaria, Niathel. You
Nightfall,
have
yeah.
her. You could have just had her be chief of state,
Honestly, that would have worked.
which I know she'll become chief of state later on with
Hmm.
Cade,
Yeah,
not Cade, Jason.
Titus.
Cade. I'm looking at my profile picture saying
Cade
Cade.
in Legacy of the Force.
Yeah, not we're not there yet.
Yeah, it's gonna be a
We're
discussion
about
though.
130 years off. Um, anyway, so I think that would have easily fixed it, but what do I know? So that's a criticism I have of this because I was confused as a reader,
Hmm.
having read the books prior. I'm like, what the hell? What's going on here? So I know there's going to be a Jedi coalition, and that's going to be the good guys per se. I know that's going to happen, but early on here, after reading the NJO and the Darkness trilogy, look who decided to show up.
I had to
Hey, what's
I
up?
had to
She
pop
said she
in
could.
because no, listen, I had to come in here because I was watching and you guys are misunderstanding things. So I had to be on here because I was
Oh
getting
my
frustrated.
goodness!
Getting frustrated.
Here comes the actually. I'm just
Yep.
playing. Go ahead, Max.
Here
I'm
we
just
go.
playing. Go ahead.
So let me backtrack here to Jason's motivations. So I'm gonna tell you he's not dark side for a good part of the series, especially the first book. He kills Nalani, yes, but he's not going to the dark side, yes, yet. And his motivations were out of curiosity here, because he was like, well, this is something that I haven't learned yet, and this is something that might be able to help me with his actual goal of safeguarding Alana. Okay, so there's that one, and then the Lumaya Vergiri thing. So um, when you say that Vergiri doesn't have the credentials to complete Lumaya's training, I will remind you that Luke Skywalker completed Mara's training after she turned to the light, and Vergiri's been a Jedi and a Force user for far longer than Lumaya's been alive. So she certainly has a lot of things that Lumaya could learn. And the
Okay,
Emperor's
wait.
hands did not have the most advanced training in the dark side as someone say Darth Vader. Um, so there's that one, and then the
Wait, Max.
GA.
Wait. Okay. All right. You
Sorry,
finish your statement, and then I'll respond.
I've been like bottling this up for like 10 minutes.
Go
Oh
off.
crap.
Um, Now let me say the GA thing. So the GA aren't evil; they're afraid because if the Corellians secede, they have free reign over Centerpoint Station, and they don't have to report it to the New Republic. And Centerpoint Station is capable of destroying star systems, and the New Republic wants to keep the finger on the pulse of these kind of things. So they're afraid. So if the Corellians secede, and the Corellians are very much known for being brash and irrational, then they have a super weapon that can break apart star systems at their command without the oversight of the New Republic.
Well, okay, wait. Your first point was the Jason thing, the curiosity. All right, I get that. The only thing I would say though is, at least by the second book, he's already calling himself a Sith.
I don't know.
So I mean, I don't know.
He's more like a
That's
would-be Sith at the moment. He's not fully committed yet because he really
I mean, he's already killing people, like people
he
he
is,
knows
but
that are somewhat close to him.
he's doing it because he believes it's for quite literally the best of the GA's interests, and because of their Corellian fear. And it's this kind of mass hysteria thing where the Corellians are plotting against us. Where it was the same thing kind of with the Jedi with Palpatine. They created this hysteria around Jedi where the Jedi are plotting against the Republic. They're going to overthrow us. And so Jason became the poster boy for the good Jedi per se, whereas he's the one that's not, that's going to put the GA before the Jedi, and he is fully believing that his actions are justified because of Alana, because he's trying to keep her safe. And he can't tell people that because obviously why? If you've read Dark Nest, which he did. Um, but so
I
with
think I did.
Jason,
I don't remember anything from it though, but go ahead.
Jason is just he's also very pompous, and he's been this way since New Jedi Order, and especially now because he knows things that not even Luke knows, and Luke's the Grand Master. And so he's like, well, I know things that Luke doesn't, so who is he to tell me what I can and can't do? And he's like fully believing that he's far and above every other Jedi that is in the Order currently. And he fully believes that he knows what's right because he has these abilities and he has the foresight to put the greater good, as he calls it, over everything else. So sorry, I just had to yap.
What would killing Nalani do then? How would that benefit the Galactic Alliance? She's a young Jedi.
Yeah, so
How would that benefit them?
Nalani was his kind of gateway drug in a sense. Whereas it was like more of like a sacrificial thing in a way, for him to kind of start taking these steps and prove it to Lumaya that he was legit about this. Because if Lumaya saw him as someone who is just kind of like, oh well, he's not committed, he's not serious about this and I can't trust him. He had to kind of really lock in for it because he genuinely wanted to know this because of all the Force religions he's trained in, he's never steered close to Sith. He did Falinasi and Theron listeners and the Angti monks, but the one he always never explored was the Sith. So he was like, okay, so is there stuff that the Sith can show me to help me attain my goal?
I mean, killing someone, an innocent Jedi. I don't see how that would do that though.
Well, again, the dark side makes those
Plus, he just
irrational.
if this had happened maybe like midway through the series, which I know he'll kill someone midway through the series, but
Hmm.
I guess I can understand it. But he just met Lamaya. He just met her,
Yeah,
and
but
she starts saying all this stuff about Vergir, and he
and
just
that's the
believes it.
thing with Jason because Vergeria is like that's like his Vergeria is his thing, and Vergeria had such a big impact on him, and everything Lumaya was saying was reinforcing what Jason believed about Vergeria and what her philosophies entailed. Like Vergeria believed that you can't fall to the dark side because it doesn't exist. Your intent has to be bad. If you don't have the bad intent and you're not a bad person, then you can't fall to the dark side. So Jason was out here believing that I'm never going to fall to the dark side because I'm not my grandfather. I don't have the dark intent. I'm not a bad person. So what I'm doing is justified because I'm not a bad person. So I'm not going dark. And that's what he's thinking the entire time because Lumaya is telling him all this. And like, oh yeah, so all of that Vergiri taught you, she learned from me. So he's like, okay, so you're basically my next Vergiri, you know? So it's like she reinforced everything he wanted to hear. She told him the things he wanted to hear, which is exactly what someone like Palpatine did to Anakin. Like he told him everything that he wanted to hear to gas him up and to lure him onto his side. And this is exactly what Lumaya is doing. Now, whether she's lying or not, I don't think it matters here is because she's achieving her goal. And of course, Darksiders are going to lie to achieve whatever they want. And Jason's basically the key to getting Jason on your side was to appeal to his sense of like pompousness and be like, so everything that you learned from Vergiri is like begins with me and I can show you more and that you are actually right in this. So
Very interesting.
yeah,
I did
sorry.
want to comment
Yeah.
though on your you said because I said earlier that Vergir finishing Lamaya's Sith training
Yeah.
is ridiculous. And the reason why I said that is what's been established is Regier learned what some probably a very short time under Palpatine has said, this guy is crazy. He wants to kill the whole Jedi Order. I'm leaving. That's what she did. Lamaya spent most of her life training with Vader and Sidious.
Yeah.
So why Vergeer is going to finish her training, I don't know. Vergeer spent very little time, and it had to be small too because I've seen people try to figure out, well, where could she have even been trained at, and that doesn't even make sense with the timeline. But she wasn't with Palpatine for very long, assuming she actually was. So
So
why she is qualified to finish Lamaya's training? It should be the other way around. Lamaya should have
so
finished Vergeer's training.
think about it
So
this way. So Virgier's been a Jedi for a very, very long time, but she's also harbored these very unique beliefs of, the unifying force prospect, and that the dark side solely rests on you and not some, cosmic thing. So
can you
she's
say
like,
she learned that from Lamaya though?
well, that's what Lumaya wants you to believe. But
So
I,
she
I
didn't learn
mean,
it from Lamaya.
I don't think she learned those kind of beliefs from Lumaya. No. Um,
Okay, go ahead.
but Vergiri had these very unique beliefs that Lumaya didn't really know, because that's not the common like way of thinking in terms of the Force. Um, and think about this. It's like also like Luke completed Jason's training, and like Luke trained Jason, but still Vergiri had something to teach him, and she had something of value to offer him. Now, if she did somehow complete Lumaya's training, it might have been maybe very minuscule things that perhaps Palpatine didn't show her, or that Vader didn't show her. You know, like Jason was still like able to learn from Vergiri after even completing his Jedi training under Luke and becoming a full-fledged Jedi Knight. So there's always more to learn, even for the most like skilled of Force users.
But that's not
But
really what the series says though. The series says she trained under Palpatine, and because of that, she finished Lamaya's training as a Sith.
yeah, so
But
if
now, if the book would have said, okay, Vergir taught Lamaya her philosophy on the
yeah,
Force, and Lamaya agreed with it, that's fair. That's
yeah,
fair. Because that's something new that the Sith don't believe in.
yeah.
But to say that she finished Lamaya's training as a Sith, I think is ridiculous.
Yeah. Now,
Because
if
I
we
know why.
if we are to believe what Vergir says about being a brief Sith apprentice of Palpatine, then she already knows more of the ways of the Sith than Lumaya does, because Emperor's hands aren't trained as Sith; they're trained more as Dark Jedi and assassins. Um, so if Vijiri is to be believed, then she already does have a little bit of an edge in Sith knowledge. Um, but again, nobody knows if Lumaya is telling the truth or if Vijiri is telling the truth. Who knows? But I mean, we can also go off of Legacy and her conversations with Darth Krayt, and how she is also someone of the dark side, and how Krayt says that he senses the dark side strong in Virgier when he sees her. So that's kind of a further reinforcement of, you know, Virgier being an actually Sith trained person. And I do agree with you on the timeline. Like, where does that even fit? Because like, it's got to. I mean,
Because yeah, Sidious was already training Dooku when he
yeah,
was training Maul.
that's, I feel like, the
So
biggest discrepancy is when it actually could have happened, because you know Palpatine's an apprentice before Phantom Menace, and she disappears like right after Phantom Menace. So it's like it's a little
well,
strange.
here's what I think. I think yes, Lamaya was trained as not as a Sith technically. For Vergir, assuming she was, technically yes, she was trained as a Sith. But I would still say Lamaya knows more, and here's why. It's like okay, take this analogy. There's let's say I learned karate for a few months and then I'm like I can't do this no more, so I leave.
Yeah,
someone who learned jujitsu probably I can't teach him karate because I barely learned it, but they could probably teach me about jujitsu because they've learned it and finish
Mm.
my training. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
That's kind of weird to think about, but Vergeer trained as a Sith for a very short time, assuming she actually did. If I learned karate for a very short time, that doesn't mean I know karate.
no, of course not.
So why the series says that she completed. Now you can easily fix all this. Jason, he has no idea. He don't know. He wasn't born at that time period. He don't know what happened then.
Yeah,
So you could say, this is all, Lamaya just lying, and that'd be fair.
yeah,
But it's assuming she's telling the truth. That's where the problems lie in, and
yeah.
that's where I don't get it.
I feel like maybe
So
she was telling him half truths, possibly, and kind of just sprinkling in white lies where they needed to be, just to kind of give that extra nudge to Jason, you know? Um, so that could be a possibility. I wouldn't trust her as far as I could throw her. Um,
right,
but who knows? I mean, she's obviously not the most trustworthy of people. Um, so it's really kind of up in the air, and it's caused like such an eternal debate among people. Um, but honestly, I feel like it could go either way, and there's so many like semantical things within it. Like, was she lying? Was she half lying? Or was she just kind of embellishing just for effect? Or, so I mean, we'd have
right.
to ask like someone like Troy Denning or something because he spearheaded the whole project. So
Well,
who knows?
I think Troy Denning. I think now I don't know how true this is, but because I haven't seen the quote, but I think he did say that he was not intending on Lamaya lying.
Hmm.
So I don't know.
Well, if he goes to
I
Legends
don't
Con,
care what
I'm
he said,
sure
but
we can ask him. And I'm sure
maybe if
Alex
he
will
goes to
ask
Legends
him.
Con, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure Alex would love to have a couple
I'm sure
conversations
Alex
with
would have a
him.
whole conversation with him.
Oh yes,
Two and
I
a
would
half
too.
hour conversation.
I have many questions, many questions for Mr. Denning.
Ken, you got any thoughts, brother?
No, I'm good. Listen to you guys talk.
Come on, bro. You can add something, bro.
The dinner scene. Thoughts on that?
I gotta remember it. I haven't read this book in over a year.
I mean, I
Um,
haven't read the book in 2 years. So like before you joined,
Hell,
I was
I read
winging
the
it.
book only a few months ago, and I don't remember crap from it.
If I
I
got
was
stuff
just bored
wrong,
through it.
actually, I apologize. I was winging it like half the. I haven't read these books in like 8 years. So
I just remember like really enjoying like seeing everyone together because like I just love the kind of wholesome Skywalker solo family moments. Even if it kind of boiled into an argument, I just like seeing them all together. Um, but that's just me. From what I can remember of it, again, I haven't read this in for a long time, but I do remember the very broad strokes of the book. So
Yeah, me
I
too.
love.
And I read it only a few months ago. I was
this
just
book
bored
is
with it,
not.
honestly, and I just was not captivated. I just didn't
I
care.
really like the book, and I really like the kind of battle on Corellia, and
Oh yeah.
the fact that like you don't know who the good guy is right now. And that's I heard you talking about that earlier, and I was like, yes, I was like, that's how it's supposed to be, and I love it
hmm
because you're like, I
I know that's
remember,
how it's supposed to be, but
yeah,
the problem is you can't go from the Galactic Alliance being the superior New Republic, being the reformed New Republic, basically, to people calling it the New Empire. That's such a drastic change, and it's never addressed in between the
well,
books.
The
the
Alliance isn't. They aren't the Empire yet, but
yeah, they
I
they're
soon
know
the
they're
will
not,
be.
but
Fundarian.
even within by the second book, people in universe are referring to them as the New Empire.
Yeah,
So it's
because
like,
Jason and the GAG are literally going door to door and arresting
The
everyone
GAG
simply
doesn't
for being
exist
Corellian.
in Betrayal yet, though.
Yeah, and again, as I said, the the GA is scared because Corellians have control of the most powerful super weapon since the Death Star, and arguably sometimes more powerful than the Death Star. So
well, it
it's
is more
like,
powerful than this.
yeah, I
Quite
mean, you
literally.
can tear
Put it
apart
this way:
star systems.
if the Corellians didn't
Right.
have Centerpoint Station, their whole military is not effective enough to challenge the GA.
then they wouldn't be taken seriously as a threat. But
But it's
it's
because they have
Centerpoint.
Centerpoint.
Yeah, Centerpoint was what really kind of caused the whole thing because they're like, well, they have
They have a super
this.
weapon that can take out entire
Yeah,
star
and not
systems.
to
So like,
mention they are cosmic neighbors to Coruscant. So if they wanted to, they're right there to use Centerpoint on them. So it's like everyone's kind of clustered together here, and one person has this giant super weapon that they can use against billions and trillions of life forms on Coruscant. And I would argue that the Swarm War did also do a detriment on Galactic Alliance politics. And it's
kind of.
specifically with the Jedi, because I remember like many different arguments between like Cornhorn, Tip Duron, and the others. And really, it's like I feel like it boils down to Cal Omos becoming complacent, and just the fact that perhaps afterwards, after the Vong and after surviving the Vong, they didn't take other threats as seriously because they're like, oh well, if we handled them, we're pretty much good. We're fine. Nobody can touch us now. And of course, Corellia being kind of a founding member of the entire civilized galaxy as we know it, that's a huge problem if they secede, and obviously excluding even Centerpoint here. So, but Arthur points out droid Anakin at Centerpoint Station. That is a very strange scene. I remember reading that. I was like, "What the hell?" I was like, they did my boy dirty.
And the scenes with Jaina firing on.
I'm the Anakin Solo
fanboy. No, don't do that.
I heard something about Jaina. What happened?
Jaina firing on civilians. Remember that? And Jason's like, "You gotta kill civilians."
Jason,
she's like, "No, I don't want to."
Marshals his sister for not blowing up a civilian transport, and I'm like, "Well, that's not good."
I mean, as we know,
wasn't that in Bloodlines? I think that was in Bloodlines. I think.
Yeah, I believe it was, but I like one thing I will say about the entirety of the series is that a lot of it is like, hey, like Jaina's gonna be the one who kills him, and it's like she really doesn't take center stage until maybe like the last two books,
Yeah.
But I mean, she's still a very prevalent character, obviously, but like it's more focused on like her
training,
her love triangle and everything, which I enjoyed because I like seeing the banter between Zek and Jagged.
Zek, Jag, and Jaina trio.
But yeah, there's a lot of great stuff in this book. It might not be the best of the series, but I think it's definitely a very good start to the series.
I'd say it's a good start. It's not my favorite.
Yeah, no, me either.
But, a favorite book.
Yeah,
it's with me.
I liked it better than Darkness. Oh, look who joined! Look who's gonna join us.
Hey,
the man himself.
Muad'Dib.
Lisa Nalgaib, as it was written.
The Magnino.
Yeah, the Messiah. Just kidding. There's only one.
I think you're the legacy.
Magnino Alex. Good to see you.
Hello.
Hi. And
Welcome,
I also wanted to talk about Arthur's quick comment from earlier about the action scenes in the beginning. Ooh, that's good. That's some good stuff with Ben and Jason.
I remember those action scenes vividly.
Yeah, me too. I still think about
the Jedi groups. You had like what? There was like group Tauntaun. There was group fucking Bantha, whatever. I don't remember all the book or the different groups. They each had different roles, and I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool. I do remember that.
You thought Vaughn could embrace pain? Jason could take literally anything now.
I know, that guy's insane.
He's a tank.
That guy's bonkers, especially later on in the freaking series. My God.
Yeah, Revelations, Invincible. Oh.
And then even
just in this book, like he can take it.
Yeah.
Ben. I mean,
I forgot the book. Which one was it? Was it the fourth one? No spoilers. I don't know. When he fights the other guy, who I don't want to say, that one guy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that one guy.
Yeah,
one guy.
remember? And he does the thing, and
Yeah.
then
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah, like from the video game.
He
Yeah,
does
yeah,
the
yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
talking about?
yeah.
Yeah,
Good
on
Remember?
game.
Coruscant.
Mm.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
Yeah,
when
yeah, crazy. It's good
Jason
times.
like does the thing, and then
I
like
will.
you know.
Yeah, I
I
will
feel like
say
I'm
without.
third wheeling here.
Just to
Yeah,
say
remember the scene
without
where like
the.
remember the scene, Alex, where Jason like starts mewing and then like everyone
Yeah, that
dies.
was great.
Yeah,
But
it's awesome.
but without getting into spoilers, I will say I have the same issue with that fight that I don't watch new canon, but people have an unnecessary amount of time surviving chest wounds, and this doesn't happen to
yeah.
Jason, but to the other character that he's
Yeah.
fighting. Survives a chest wound, and I think that's rather stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Betrayal.
Yeah,
So Alex, I think you should.
Yeah, we ain't there yet, guys. We ain't there yet.
We've done
we can talk
things.
about Betrayal and Bloodlines because those are the two books that Lance has finished.
I
Well,
yapped for
I'm
a
like
long
halfway
time,
through
so it's
Tempest.
Alex's turn.
What's my turn?
Hello,
I
Slav.
yapped for a
Alex,
long
stop.
time, so it's your turn.
No,
I
no, that's
wasn't
good.
coming on here
Yeah,
originally.
stop yapping, Max. Stop
I know.
yapping.
I'm sorry. I wasn't coming on here originally, and I was just gonna watch, but then I was just like, I
She
can't.
came on here because I was fucked up.
Bye.
So
I
you're
can't.
saying we baited you. We baited you.
Yes.
But like Maxine
Yeah,
should
you
be
took
able
the
to
bait,
discuss
Unintentional
bro.
that.
bait, mind you.
She's like one of the biggest defenders, so it wouldn't make sense
Yes,
for her
I
not to be
am.
on here.
So are you, Alex.
I am. I got quite a bit of
Probably.
hate from many people for it. It's great.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I bet.
Anyway, Alex, we need to hear your takes.
My takes.
Oh, I think we've already heard his takes.
Yeah, I have so
Yeah,
many
we
videos
shoulda.
on the topic.
He has so many.
I do think
messing.
this one's the weakest. I think Aaron Olston's books somehow are the weakest of the whole series. I feel the pacing is not the best. I think there's a lot of good in in the first book, but there's a lot of slow, dragging parts in Betrayal.
Indeed.
That's the most definitely.
Lance, you should take
What?
down bullet points.
Is this the book that Ben starts using lubed as a synonym for awesome?
Oh, Ben.
I think it is.
I
I know
I don't remember that.
he uses it a lot.
I like that Ben
in Fate of
likes
the
to eat a
Jedi.
lot. It reminds me of Goku.
I
from
love
Dragon
that.
Ball Z.
He's like a hungry boy, and I love it, especially in Fate of the Jedi, because I just remember a scene where Ben's making more food, and Luke's like, "Oh, I'm not hungry." He's like, "Oh no, these are for me." I love
He's
it.
always eating. My boy.
One thing I'm really sad about is that we get a little glimpse of it here, but we don't really have anything with it. Is that you get to see, you get to see this opening sort of bond between Jason and Ben, and because they're like master and apprentice, and you get to see a little bit of that. And I'm so sad because I always thought a young adult series, kind of like Jedi Apprentice and Jedi Quest, set after Darkness, but before Legacy of the Force, you could help further transition this whole process of Jason's arc, but also just have some fun stories with Ben and Jason before all this.
Yeah.
But we only get a little glimpse of that here.
Yeah, I agree. And what was it? It was earlier. You asked if Supernatural Encounters covers anything with the GA. It does not.
Because they don't matter.
It's in the time frame, but
yeah, it's honestly
I only
more
asked because of the time frame it took place. Is the only reason why I asked that.
Yeah,
I had a brain fart.
Why is Jason already evil in this book? I don't know.
Not. Marcel's baiting.
I mean, he's not evil per se, but he's done.
He's baiting you, Max.
I know he is, but he's not gonna get me.
Bait.
Yeah.
No one can get you anymore. You're immune to bait now.
I'll say this: I don't think Jason is fully evil till book 7. I think it requires 7 books to actually have him be a villain. Before that, he's a nuanced and complex person making bad decisions that he's doing for good reasons.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Although for me, I portrayed him as a villain as soon as book 5 ended.
Sure, but even then, they have nuance.
That was just me because I was very.
I mean,
mad.
Lance already knows that one, I think. But regardless,
at that point, still he's a villain in name only, the title. But
I mean, nobody knows he's a villain outside of
except for the audience.
Yeah, except for the audience. Yeah, he never actually calls himself a Sith Lord or a Dark Lord for most of the series. And no one actually knows that.
Quite literally, Marcel.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, and so does every other character in the book.
You know,
you think Luke
Luke
murdered
also
somebody in this book? Who did
Luke
he
blows
murder?
up the
Murdered
Death Star.
many times in this
I feel
series.
strongly. Luke kills
Dude,
a lot of
this
people.
is Luke didn't murder anybody on the Death Star.
He did. There
He
were
blew up the
The
Wookiees
Death
Death
that were
Star was literally gonna
slaves.
blow
Blew
them
up the
up. He
Death
was
Star.
defending the planet.
Bro,
He was
Wookiees that were
defending
what about the
slaves.
janitor?
Wookiees
How many
Wookiees
people on the
were
Death Star you think
slaves.
didn't have non-com jobs, Lance? Huh?
Read
That
Death
doesn't matter,
Star
dude.
by Michael Reeves and Steve
What about the
Carey.
janitors? What were they doing?
And I'm not even talking about the
Dude,
janitors.
Dude,
They were paid
he's
knowing
not
what they
gonna
were
let
doing.
Yavin blow up and let
Yeah.
everybody die
How
on
about
Yavin
Finn,
just
the
to show some
janitor?
banishment
Huh?
on the Death Star.
What did he do to
He had no
anybody?
choice but to blow it up.
Lance, I'm just saying that especially the series specifically actually addresses that because the dichotomy of Star Wars has always been good versus evil with no nuance in between any of that. And Ben later on in a certain book will call out Luke for saying, look, sure, you had to blow it up. It was necessary. But at the same time, you did not just kill bad guys on that Death Star. It was necessary, but you did kill innocents. It was for the greater good, but you did. He's like, well, you know what? You're
That doesn't
right.
mean it was murder. That doesn't necessarily mean it's murder, though. Murder is
No,
different than
but it's not
killing.
black and white. But you're right.
It's not, no.
No.
But it's not murder. It's
I think
not like how
Marcel's comment had the
killing
intended goal.
Alani out of cold blood.
Sure. But I
But
don't
again,
think that.
Jason
I'm not saying
was
that Jason's a
thinking it
good
was the
person
greater
throughout
good
this.
here.
Jason was doing what he had to do, but I
He-
still
Jason
think
is literally
done
Paul Atreides in this entire series.
Yeah.
I think Paul
he's-
is more complex than
That's
Jason. But
interesting.
that's
Well, yeah, that's because Frank Herbert wrote him. So, but
true, but still.
Look
however,
at Star Wars
I'll-
ripping off Dune again.
But
Holy
in the broad
shit.
strokes, Jason
broad
is
strokes.
kind of the role of Paul
Just
in
playing.
this series.
Yeah. in the broad strokes, yes, because he is doing what he does because he sees a bad future that he wants to prevent.
Okay,
It's a similar sort of thing. But
I want to say that he's not Paul, because as an audience, like Paul is doing, like he's trying to avenge his family in broad strokes, but like
sure.
And Jason's trying to prevent the death of his
Who's
family.
Paul Arteries?
true. But
Paul
Paul
Arteries. Oh my god. Paul Arteries.
That should be the next McDonald's mascot. Paul
I'm
Arteries.
tripping. I'm tripping. Don't mind me. I'm thinking too far ahead and too deep into
Paul
it.
Arteries.
Paul
Also,
Arteries.
speaking of
hilarious.
greatness, in these first two books, we have Thraken, and Thraken was incredible throughout the whole thing.
He
I
is
love
incredible.
Thraken.
He's a great
He's
character.
one of the most
He was
underrated
just
villains
tracking
ever.
along.
Spoiler alert.
Literally. Well, I mean, he already read the second book, so we know.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, finally, a
Also, I
villain
was
that's been
spoiled even
around.
before I read New Jedi Order. What happened to
It's shot
Thraken?
like 50 times.
I liked
A
him in
villain-
Ulysses.
Yeah, that's because you didn't finish a certain trilogy that revolves around him.
Because
But
Brilliant trilogy.
I was so bored. I read one chapter. I was bored.
bro, a
But a
30
ship crashing,
page
too.
emergency landing, bro. I was literally tearing my hair out. Oh my
Then maybe you
god.
should
You
you
didn't
should
even
listen
let
to
me
the
finish
abridged
it.
version. That's an
I
audio.
didn't like
wouldn't even
Darkness,
wanna
but I got
smell that
through it.
book. Okay, I don't want to even smell that book, let alone listen to it or read it.
When you read Bounty Hunter Wars, we could talk about what some.
I'm
books
not
are to get
reading
through.
that.
When I read Bounty Hunter Wars, we're gonna argue, Alex.
I'm gonna
He-
burn
Yeah.
those
But
books.
it's not about that
Bounty
today.
Hunter
Today
Wars
we're
was
here to
ass.
Lance. Thank you.
Bounty Hunter Wars sucked.
It was
book
utter
sucked.
garbage.
Damn it.
It got worse and worse as
The
it
first
went on.
book was
Fine.
not. The first book was decent, I guess. The other two were bad.
Yeah. Who wants to hear Prince
mean,
Caesar
that-
go on the same rant for like pages and pages? Again, and
Prince
again.
I
Caesar?
actually
Who?
like that.
Who?
But, anyway, Prince
Alex,
Caesar was a
who?
badass.
Prince Caesar. Did I say the name incorrectly? You gonna yell at me like Mongol?
Yes. Oh my
Shizor.
god. Shizor.
Shizor.
Not Caesar. It's not Little Caesar's
I
pizza.
didn't say
Little
Caesar.
Caesar.
Yes, you did. Oh
No, I
my
didn't.
goodness.
I did not. I
Shizor.
did not. I did not.
Shizor.
Yeah, there it is. Shizor.
Shizor.
There you go.
Anyway, we're not talking about.
We should
we're not-
repeat
Yeah, anyway.
Shizor until it loses all meaning.
We're not
Legacy
talking
of the
about
Force.
sexual. We're talking about betrayal.
We're talking about betrayal. Anyway.
Back to our regular schedule programming.
Oh god. They're already going the way of
Quite
Super
literally.
Oh, my
Little
goodness
Little Caesar's Pizza.
I
Little
would,
Caesars.
yeah.
Maybe it'll be
No.
better than the actual Little
Pizza the
Caesars.
Hut.
Little Caesars is
You have
good.
some
Sorry.
competition, Alex.
No way.
It's okay. It's okay. Arthur's free to his opinion. If he got enjoyment
Hey.
out of that, all the power to him.
Good for you, man.
Now,
I'm
I don't
glad
know
you
if you
could
had like
enjoy something
bullet
I couldn't.
points, Lance, but
I told Lance to make bullet points.
good idea.
Not really. I was
Bruh.
going to, but whatever. I think the conversation been going good so far.
Yeah.
What was everybody's favorite scene in the book? Or let's do favorite scene. We'll
Dinner
go through
scene.
everybody, and then we'll do least favorite scene. Favorite scene. Who's favorite scene? Can you go first?
Dinner scene. I just like
That's
seeing a
a solid one.
solo family together. That's
All right,
simple as that.
They talked about
Max.
politics and everything.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
politics
Mm.
discussion, family dinner. You know, it's wholesome, little wholesome argument.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Max, what was your favorite scene?
I'm gonna say probably the beginning with Jason and Ben, fighting on Adamar, because I can't remember everything exactly. It's either that or it's gonna be the ending, with Nalani and Jason doing all that. But I mean, I
Alright.
really liked everything in the book, but if I had to choose, there they are.
Alex.
Well,
The entire conversation that Jason has with Lumaya, because I was amazed that they brought back a Marvel character that never actually died and didn't have an ending, and brought her back in a big significant way. And then her entire discussion is kind of an inverse of what Vergier tried to teach him, because she had to convince him that that's what Vergier would want for him in order for him to come to that decision. So that entire discussion was phenomenal, and I love the whole story of this Sith Lord who wasn't a bad guy, because with my unique interpretation of traitor, it actually plays into my belief, because the whole thing with that was that, well, if the Force is the unifying force and it's more than light and dark, it's more than dark side and light side, and these are things that have been supposedly hindering the Jedi and Sith for years because we've put them in binary categories, then, well, if there is such a thing as a good Sith, then that would further go with what Jason's already been believing, which is that, oh, well, if there can be a good Sith, then it's Lumayan in time. But if there can be a good Sith, then it really has nothing to do with evil and good. It's just a matter of the person and how they use it. You could have a good Sith and it'd be fine, because there is no dark side, there is no light side. It's just the individual and what they choose to do with their power.
There is a good Sith. His name's Darth Plagueis.
He's
Nice.
not a good guy.
I love that man.
You shouldn't.
Darth.
I love
Y'all
that
forgetting
man.
Darth Mar? Darth Mar is a good Sith,
Screw
quite
that
literally.
guy.
Right, but that's Swotorn. It's
Darth Mar was a badass, Max. I don't know what you're
Yeah,
talking
but
about.
he's not immune of his word.
What?
no, she's just making
Plagueis.
jokes about Plagueis.
Plagueis.
I love that guy.
No, I
I don't think so.
Yeah, later on when I
Myself.
did my reviews, somebody else, one of the one Sith, mentions it. So he existed, but that doesn't mean that he was good, because the argument is like, well, you didn't hear him do anything bad, so. But we never heard anything about Darth Plagueis until Sidious
He
mentioned it in
didn't
episode
do
3.
anything bad.
So there's just because you don't hear about someone doesn't mean that he didn't do anything bad. But she had to convince Jason that he never did anything bad, that he was good throughout his entire life, for him to even consider, because a philosophy is a philosophy. It doesn't mean anything. So if he joins the Sith path, he's just using it for his good ends. So
Exactly. See, Alex knows. He's the guy.
I like
He always
Jason's transition to this far more than I like Anakin Skywalker's, which is completely sudden. Without the
have you guys seen Spy Kids 3?
Can't say.
When I was like
With-
6.
They say the guy, right? That's Alex. Alex is the guy when it comes to Legacy of the Force, okay?
I'm the Lisa Nagai.
No, Alex
Yes,
is Magneto. He's Magneto.
I'm the Muad'Dib. I'm Paul Muad'Dib Atreides, Duke of Arrakis.
Burrow's on his
as it was
basic.
written.
If you're Paul Atreides, then I'm Fade Rotha.
Bruh.
Oh, I have to fight you to death?
Yeah.
And then
to
we
the death.
almost kiss?
May that not.
Oh!
Yeah.
There was some sexual tension in that movie. I felt
There
like
was.
it was
Quite
weird.
Jason
literally.
arteries take glitter stones spikes in order to
So
flow
you're gonna
on?
kill me.
Yes.
Was
Yeah.
it
Also, flow walking
walking
is not
in
time travel.
Betrayal?
I want to make
No,
that
it's
a-
not. No, it's not. It's not
It's
time
It's
travel.
not.
It's
But
not time
was
travel.
flow walking in Betrayal? I don't remember. Was it in Betrayal?
No, it's
No,
bloodlines.
it was not.
Then.
Bloodlines is where it's
Yeah, flow walk.
introduced. But yeah,
Damn. My favorite
I
scene from the book, um, I guess it was the ending scene. Pretty much any scene with Jason and Lamaya, and then the ending I thought was pretty good. Definitely the high point in the book for me.
Based.
that's where I finally picked up pace. It was around that like last little bit when
Because
he's like,
finally, when Lamaya showed up, I was fine. Okay, finally, here's where it's starting to get interesting.
well, I was pretty hooked on it from Centerpoint. The Centerpoint station fight was cool, and then it kind of dragged a bit after that. But then you got to the whole thing where he's on the planet, and he keeps having all these like little interactions, like these little tests with these different like terrorists and things going on. So like Lumaya can see how he handles the situation, and all that before she even shows up. I really enjoyed, because this was the point. Like Jason in Unifying Force would never make those decisions, but like in that first book, like there's this terrorist is holding like a hostage, and the guy has like a bunch of bombs on him. So if Jason does anything, kaboom. So Jason now, after 11 years since the Vong War and everything in Darkness and stuff that we didn't see, decides the best course of action: throw him with the Force up into the sky. Sure, the hostage is going to blow up, but this building will be fine. And ultimately, that's more important than one person. So it's just a little subtle thing, but it's important for this transition.
Yeah.
But that's the point.
Right.
He's not meant to be Unifying Force, Jason. If you read this right after Unifying Force, I would understand somebody getting upset, because that's not who he was. But you add Darkness, and I think it works perfectly smooth into this.
Yep.
And that's the only reason why I read those damn books. Well, I was gonna read them anyway because it's EU. I want to read all the EU books, but that was just those books were a struggle, man. They were a struggle for me.
I love
I
those
just
books.
Also,
I enjoyed the
Marcel
Jason
is
stuff,
wrong,
but
but Marcel's
But
wrong, and I'll
Marcel
tell
is
you
never
why.
wrong.
We'll debate that in Bloodlines.
No, we
well,
don't even
yeah,
need to.
next
We're
week
talking about that today.
Marcel. Well, I'll probably do this next stream, probably next Sunday, probably around the same time.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I'll
but
say even without, well, I guess you have to talk about all the books, but I'll say they make it explicitly clear it's not, and I'll get to it when we get to it.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll let you
Like
guys
it's not
hash
even
that out.
debatable.
So I guess we can end off. We can each say our least favorite scene if we had one, or least favorite character or whatever, what we didn't like about the book, and then we'll do some closing thoughts, and then we'll go ahead and head off because I have dinner downstairs. So, Ken, you want to start us off? Well, what's something about this book you didn't like?
That's a tough question, actually. If I had to go with one, it'd be the pacing. This book felt like it dragged at times. Like overall, it's really all I can say from what I remember. I just think the pacing was really, really like slow.
Pacing, okay.
Yeah.
Max?
Honestly, for me, it was probably some of the like the Corellian stuff. I didn't particularly dislike it, but I don't know. I just felt like some of it was a little boring. Like I mean, I like Sile and Tilly's, but I think her parts in the book were like my least favorite.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot completely about that part. I'm like, what the hell? And then she never is brought up again.
She's
So it's
in there
like
briefly, but it's not a big role. But I like her,
like,
but who knows? But yeah, there's my take there.
all right, Alex,
He's dead.
Magneto,
Alex.
do you copy?
Al Gaib.
He's dead.
All right, I guess I'll get my least favorite, and then I don't know, maybe he's AFK real quick. My least favorite, gosh, the Silent Tilly stuff. That's a good point, Max. I have completely forgot about that. That stuff is just boring, which is a shame too, because you'd think it'd be interesting. This is Wedge's daughter, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't care about it. What else did I not like in this book? I guess just the fact that it's the Corellians. I mean, I just got. I feel like when I got to it, I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go again, Corellians and Centerpoint and Thraken. Which I don't. It's not like I don't mind those, but I rather it have been on a different planet, like maybe a planet we haven't seen in a while, or I don't want to say necessarily a new planet, but a planet we don't know much about, like Fondor, or something else like that. I don't know, but I don't know. I just didn't feel like I just didn't really care to see that again, especially Centerpoint Station. It just felt like it was a rehash again. Um, and then the Galactic Alliance, they go from being, I know they're not exactly, you know, the worst yet because the GAG hasn't been established, or hasn't been established yet. But I just hate that they're being portrayed as villains. It's not that I hate that. I just wish we had gotten some more context to that, and or even if we didn't get context, okay, Moss is maybe not the leader, then somebody else is, like Niathel. I know she will be eventually, but anyway. Um, what else did I not like? Um, I think that's pretty much it. The prose was, I don't know. I didn't really care about it as much. Um, it was just simple, I guess. I don't know. Karen Travis, I think what I liked about Bloodlines is her prose. Her prose were really good. Um,
Yeah, she does. She does write good in that. I'll give her that. But I hate Republic Commando. So
Books are boring.
well, to be honest, I haven't even read
Yeah.
Republic Commando, and I
You
don't. I know
have you
there's
read
references
X-Wing?
to it, but
Lance, have you read X-Wing? The X-Wing books?
not necessarily. And no, Marcel, that was my first Alston books were the Enemy Lines duology.
Because
But no,
that's
I
the
have not
also
read it.
prose is really good. A lot of
Yeah,
humor.
I had no problem with it.
Alex had to go, but he wanted to say to you, Marcel, that you're wrong. Um,
That's a discussion for another time.
I'm gonna flow. I loved Enemy Lines. Those are some of my favorite books in the NJO. I loved them, but I just didn't care for this book. I'm gonna
Sure.
flow walk back to when he first reads this series and underline description of flow walking for him. Well, since Alex has to go, I think let's go ahead and give our concluding, like our final rating for the book. I said mine earlier. I gave it like a 6 out of 10. Max, what would you give the book?
I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
7. And Ken,
7.5.
8.
7.5,
8 out of 10.
8. All right, but we all agree this is one of the weaker books in the series, right?
Yeah.
I think we can all agree
Overall,
with
yeah.
that.
Overall, it's definitely weak.
So, yeah, that's it for literally the Force #1 Betrayal. Hopefully next time Marcel will join us and Brennan. Brennan,
Hopefully.
who else did not join us? Is that it?
It's
It's
just
yeah,
Brennan and Marcel.
Brennan. I guess Marcel joined in the chat, but
Oh.
Brennan, hopefully he'll join us. I probably give this book a 6.5 or 7. Okay, so well, we all have pretty similar ratings.
Yeah.
I will join for Bloodlines. Awesome. So next stream, I'm planning for it to be
Well,
next. I want to
Marcel's
do it
there,
every
I'm
Sunday night. What's that, Max?
If Marcel's there, I'm there.
All right.
Alrighty.
Sunday
I'll
night
be
next week, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I think that is pretty good for most of us. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about Bloodlines, and then I want to do this a weekly series because I want to knock these books out a week, right? So I can, if I know I have something coming up, right, then I'll read the books. So plus I just enjoy talking with you guys. I haven't streamed
Yeah.
in for gosh, when was the last time I streamed? It's been a while.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah.
2 months.
I haven't uploaded any videos either. I have videos recorded, but I'm just too lazy to go in and edit them. I need to get back to doing videos though. But that's it. If the series does well, like if people like the series, am thinking about extending it, like where we'll talk about Cross Current, Riptide, Millennium Falcon. We can talk about Fate of the Jedi.
I'm down for
So,
that.
you
All
know,
right, if you
we'll,
do Fate of the Jedi, I will reread that as well because I've been like itching to reread it. So this will give me an excuse to
Alright.
do it.
Yeah, and like I said
I
earlier,
might.
we're not all. I'm reading it for the first time myself, but Ken, of course I know Max is a big fan of the series. Ken, he's read the series, and I asked if he would join. He said yes.
Yep.
Alex, I know he was rereading it. I don't really
I'll
know if
give it
he's
a
finished
second.
it. I think he
shot
did
at-
finish it.
Oh well.
His reread. Um, and of course Marcel and Brandon have read it. So, but I'm reading it for the first time. So,
Mhm. Sounds good.
that's all I got. Thank y'all for joining. Marcel, Slav, I saw him earlier. Who else? Arthur joined.
Yep.
So, and Max, Ken, thank y'all very much. Alex, he had to go, I don't know, watch Emperor Palpatine videos.
Like
Yeah.
making Palpatine videos.
um,
Naked
anyway,
shit.
y'all have a good night. Thank y'all so much for joining. We'll see y'all next week.
All right.
Also,
Bye-bye.
one more thing. The thumbnails for these, Brennan made them. They're badass. Brennan made them. So, yeah.
Thanks, Brennan.
Y'all wondering who made them? I didn't make them. Brennan made them, and they look badass. Anyway, thank y'all for watching.
All right. See you guys.